Hi guys, my name is Philomena MAUGHAN and I'm an Irish traveller and I work at LGTU.
Hi guys, I'm Tracy Giles. I'm a Romany Gypsy and I work at London's Gypsies and Travellers along with my colleague Mina. And we're going to introduce you to our mapping project, which looks at the history of Gypsies and Travellers in London. One of the visions that we had for this project was capturing the sites that have been lost or relocated in London. Both Mina and I live in neighbouring boroughs. I live in Newham and Mina lives in Hackney. And both our sites back in 2003 were compulsory purchase for mega events, i.e. the London 2012 Games. And we had to go through an awful lot to get a relocation site for our families. And there was another site that was also relocated for the Crossrail project in Tower Hamlets. Then there's lots of other sites in London that have just been closed down for regeneration for the settled community. And we wanted to capture all of that history of those sites that had been lost.
The Irish travellers and the Gypsy people, we feel very strong and passionate about our culture. We don't want it lost. We want it on record so that people can go on and, you know, it's like everybody else's culture. People feel very strongly, and we've lost so much of the traveller community way of life by sites not being built, all the old stopping places taken away, and we put up with so much discrimination and hatred. But we want the wider public to know that, you know, we're just like everyone else, but we just live on an open life, a nomadic way of life, and that means, you know, an awful lot to our community, and we don't want to see that lost. And that we think this mapping project is the way forward for learning people about the history.
So this mapping project is exciting on many levels. It's a really good resource for the younger generation to access the history of their culture, their parents, their grandparents and their great-grandparents. It puts them in good stead of being able to be proud of their ethnicity and culture. Gypsies and Travellers have always been a part of London for centuries, and a lot of the stories and recordings are very touching and moving, and people have photographs to support their stories. And it proves that we haven't just come along, we haven't just arrived, but we have been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I think that we are part of that diverse culture that makes London. So, by Gypsies and Travellers going on, sharing all their stories, sharing all their old photos, helps build that picture. But it also educates politicians and the wider settled community about Gypsies and Travellers. It can also be used for those tracing their ancestry to find out if they have Gypsy or Traveller heritage.
So people that has any interest in the lives past, present and future of Gypsies and Travellers' way of life, we hope that they'll take a big interest in the mapping project and go on the website, and everything is there for to learn yourself and read up on. We want the traveller community as well to get on board and use the mapping project to put up to date, events on it and let people know how they feel about their future and the past generation.
We're really excited about this project, and we want all Gypsies and Travellers to go onto the map and share your story, share your images. It's for the future generation of Gypsies and Travellers to be able to access and look back on.
And when was it that you came with your family?
So to Hackney itself, in the late 80s, I'd say around 88, we come to Dawson first and then Mayor Street, and we were going up and down. We were even up in Limehouse, so up and down all that circle for years until we got a permanent site. We got a temporary permanent place in Grandison Avenue in the late, I'd say around 1990, and then people from the council and things came out and they wanted to get us settled, so they gave us a place in Waterton Road. It was the first permanent site we were ever in.
Grandison Avenue, there was a big camp. Can you describe it to me?
It was a long road, and it had four separate wee wee camping places. We were all kind of connected, but it was nice. It was very homely. Basically, we preferred it before we went into the big site in Hackney. It was the first permanent site we went into, Waterton Road, but we didn't like it. It was the first one that was made for us. It was like a cattle market. Well, there was a lot of shops, sweet shops and things. It was just a walk up to Hackney, Mayor Street, the old Hackney. It had a lot of cafes and restaurants to the area, and we were all known. And we had locals, as in pubs. Basically, we were known in the community, and the community knew us all.
Who owned it at that time?
It would have been council. There were leftover derelict things from the time of the war. There were all bombed up places.
London was full of gypsies and travellers, right, for centuries. They was always there. They was always in the East End of London. They were the original totters. They were the original recyclers. Do you know what I mean? During the war, they had their horse and carts and going round and getting a bit of iron and pots and pans for the war effort. And they were the people that kept things going. They had fruit and vegetables. They were there. They used to bring stuff from Kent or wherever, and they'd bring it into the East End of London and sell their bits of wares and that. You know what I mean? They even had slaughterhouses out in the countryside, and they used to bring the meat back during the war. Do you know what I mean? So the travellers have got a long history in the East End of London. And then you go out towards Belvedere and all out through there. You got, like my grandparents, they all had yards at Belvedere, and that was flooded in 53. So a lot of them people off of Belvedere moved into the East Ends of London, bought bits of yards in London, because land weren't expensive them days. You could buy an old bomb site, yeah, and then you just made it your own. Put your old wagon on there or whatever. Right, they had little yards all over the East End of London. You know, so... And
what became of those yards and those families, Joe?
Well, obviously they were bought out, compulsory purchased. And a lot of them were just compulsory purchase because no one wanted to sell their business. So when the redevelopment and regeneration of London and the East End and all that, all them yards were bought. You know what I mean? Compulsory purchased. You know, if they didn't sell them, they was compulsory purchased at the market price it was them days. So they tried to get as much as they could before they even got compulsory purchase. But a lot of people got compulsory purchase, lost their homes and everything else, and ended up alongside the road. You know what I mean? So they could have ended up on Erith site, they could have ended up on Lewisham site or wherever it was, you know what I mean? But there was loads of us out at Battersea at one time now on the old railway sidings of Battersea. I mean, there must have been 50, 60, 70 odd lots out there. Do you know what I mean? In the winter months.
I think back in the 1800s they done an ethnic cleansing job, and that's how they cleared Portobello Road out. Gypsy Corner, that's where they all went to it. And most of them, a lot of them lived in Wilson in the Elsden estates. Moved them out of into London, put them out to the outpost parts of it. It would be no different than here, because this would have been the same here. Canning Town, the Bonnie Downs on South East Town, Custom House, all to do with the dogs, like that. But the dogs' home is Battersea.
Yeah.
All work in the dock area. So that's where all the money was at.
But a copy of the birth certificate, yeah, of great-grandparents' wedding. So this is Dad's one set of his grandparents. And they got married, and it says here he's a dock labourer. That's his occupation, and that was in East London.
William Smith and Ruth Davis.
Talk about all the docks, by the side of the Thames, right up to the Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge. It's not that far from Battersea. When you put them both together, I've actually walked that Thames from Woolwich Ferry right up to Battersea. Yeah. When I was 18-year-old. I used to work with one of the users from Mitchell, Johnny Hughes. And we used to go up all the way up Thames, right up to Battersea Park, looking for copper nails and bits of metal, scrap metal, in the shore, up when the tide was out. Yeah. We found anything one day. So she was about 18-year-old then.
She was born 1900, yeah. Yeah, and he was 23 and she was
He
18.
was older than her.
Yeah, they have dates of birth on there, yeah.
So
And
now-
she was a showman, a real showman. Married a gypsy. And the yards, he'll tell you about the yards, how the yards were, and that's how people, even with settled people, live side by side in these days. Especially in the 60s and 70s when it all started to change.
Yeah, your media maybe changed. My grandfather was born in Dartford Yards.
And I can't think of the name of them now. Amongst travellers, they still say Dartford Yards, don't they?
Yeah. My granddad was in the 1914 war.
His grandfather Spencer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't sure what it was his brother-in-law's yard or his uncle's yard, and they was Sykes. A lot of Sykes up North Company now. Ted Sykes and all that lot. John Sykes.